just hand over the girls. You're going to say what you would do, and there's going to be a proviso that you've got all the systems and the processes and everything in place. So this is again going to show you that once you've got all the structure in place, how easy it is to manage that situation.
So, situation first, I guess.
The MD is impossible to win.
Just manage me out, Polly, manage me out.
It really, out to pasture, wasn't it?
Yes, start with the skills matrix.
Yeah. Real life problem actually that we have actually got at the moment with a member of staff. Can't really knock her on her actual day-to-day work.
Right.
She's polite on the phone, she gets through her work, she can nega deals, no problem. Her manages her portfolio, absolutely fine. She's so negative. Everything, every tiny little thing that we speak to her about or we put into place or anything, it's straight away, head down, ugh, why are we doing that? That's never going to work, this is a waste of my time, that's not what I signed on for, that's not in my contract, this, and it's like constant, to the point where last Friday she emailed me and said, is there any chance I could finish 40 minutes early today and take it off my lunch? To which I said, what's the reason for? Because we try and be flexible as much as we can. I've got a hair appointment.
Okay.
So when I went back to her and said, well, that's not really a reason that I would let you finish 40 minutes early on a Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
It's the comeback, but you let Jane do it. Jane had a hospital appointment, but why are you even concerning yourself with what Jane is doing? As your manager, I have told you, you've asked the question, I've told you no. And it's constantly, right, we're going to start prospecting this list now, Claire. Why do I get that list? That list is going to be crap. Why has she got that list? I want that list.
Treasure, doesn't she?
And, but you can't knock her on her work. Like I said, like she gets the most reviews on Facebook
She's
and
top
Google.
on Facebook.
She gets all the champagne, she gets the flowers and everything, the vendors love her, the customers love it. She used to work in conveyancing, so she smashes her SPU straight out the park.
So what is different about this scenario is that normally when you get somebody who's as negative as that, it normally has an impact on their work. It's strange and unusual that it isn't, because normally you'll see it impact their work in some area, which makes it easier because you manage them on their performance. Your difficulty is, from a performance point of view, it's still there. So our problem seems to be an internal problem, because normally if somebody's just negative, they'll not just be negative with you, they'll be negative with a landlord, with a vendor, they'll have a negative approach to a difficult situation. But if she's not doing any of that, it's unusual. It's not the end of the world though, because part of what I'm going to talk to you about in reviews, one-to-ones is, it doesn't matter how much somebody's performing, if their attitude and if their willingness isn't there, that's for me sometimes a bigger problem than their performance not being there. If their performance isn't there, it'll probably only impact them and you. If their attitude is not there, it'll impact everyone. So to me, that's a bigger problem than somebody not performing. I can help somebody to perform. I can manage somebody out. What you're going to need to do is, how long has this person been with you?
3 years.
3 years. At the point that she started with you, was she negative?
No.
Right. So you've got an expectation, all right? You'll have, I imagine, even without structure, it's much harder to do. It's not much harder to do, it's harder to do without structure. It's not impossible. So when she started, have you got clear examples? Can you remember back to, it might not just be when she started, this behaviour might have changed only in the last 6 months, the last year. Or you might not even be able to pinpoint when it changed, you've just suddenly it ended up. But there must be a point in time when you can remember she was different. When I say different, she was more positive.
Yeah.
Can you remember that?
Yeah.
Right. So within a one-to-one, I'd tackle it with, I'd go through the figures and which we're going to discuss, I'd go through performance and I'd congratulate her on a performance and I'd say, I'm really, really chuffed with this and I'm really, really chuffed with that. Because you should do that.
Yeah.
It's difficult to do when somebody's giving you flack and being negative. The fairness element you've got to do. So no matter if you like somebody, you don't like somebody, they're negative, they're not negative. If their performance is there, congratulate their performance and do it with meaning as well. Don't like, yeah, you've done really well. You've done really well, I'm really, really pleased with you. Incentivise them. However you incentivise your staff, do that. I need to move on to something else. What's her name?
Chloe.
Chloe. Claire, sorry.
Chloe.
So,
Chloe.
So, Claire.
I've got an accent for you.
I'm really, really pleased with your performance, but there's something really bothering us, and it's actually more important as far as I'm concerned than your performance right now, because we've got other staff members performing. I'm not just here to make money, I'm here to develop, I'm here to nurture, I'm here to create an environment that people want to work in. Do you feel like you make the working environment a positive place to be? You can be Claire. What will she say?
I think she'll say, yeah.
You do, all right. What type of things do you do to make it a positive environment?
Well, I'm always pleasant. I'm always, I'm first one in, I'm last one out. I always help new trainees when they're around.
Brilliant, yeah.
You know, I'm getting better. I'm getting on better with Nara Jane since she's turned around. So yeah, I can't see what I'm doing to bring it down.
Okay, so we had a scenario. I'm going to have to make this up based on what you've told us. We had a scenario the other day when we talked about implementing something new, and you said, why do I have to do that when she doesn't have to do it? What do you think the impact is on me, on your environment, on the other staff members? What do you think the impact is of that type of conversation?
I generally don't know what she'd say to that.
Okay. What I love is the silence, and we're going to talk about that. You probably will get a silence
Yeah.
because you won't be expecting that question. Don't fill the silence for her, just allow her and look at her the whole time she's silent. Don't get uncomfortable and look away and make it easy for her. Look at her the whole time. And just, there's nothing wrong if you're going to interject with, I'm pleased you're struggling to answer that question, because I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you the answer. The impact of those actions are, you bring the whole environment down. What you do is, doesn't matter how much you get on with the individuals, I need staff to be positive about what they're doing. I need staff to be on board. If you're not on board, I need you to speak to me in a one-to-one environment, not in front of the rest of the office. We'll speak about it on a one-to-one environment, but what I won't accept is constant negativity. Is there a problem in your job role at the moment? Is there anything you don't like? Is there anything I can change to manage it better?
I know that Claire would probably say in that one she doesn't feel appreciated.
Right. So how can I make you feel appreciated?
Well, not looking for like any sort of reward or anything, but like just to be told more that I am doing a good job, to be included more on the, you know, on the direction of where we're going with the prospecting, and being in on that, and being having the opportunity to discuss that with you.
Well, I will take that on board, Claire, because I do want to work with you, and I do want you to turn a corner, because we've got so much good performance there. If we could get this bit right, you'd be fantastic. So I'm prepared to do that, absolutely no problem. Probably some of the reasons though that I don't include you more is because of your attitude. I don't include you because I'm expecting to be met with negativity. Do you think if you were more positive and had a more positive approach, do you think I'd be more likely to come to you and give you the direction that we're going in and ask for feedback?
Yeah, probably.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So can we agree, moving forward, that I'm going to see a more positive attitude?
Yeah.
And what I can promise you is, when I see that positive attitude, I'll definitely start rewarding you in the form of praise. Does that sound like a deal?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Good. To see Claire.
It's
Oh, I've got the champagne as well. There you go.
Yeah, it's mine, not yours.
It's yours.
Thank you very much.
It can be a difficult one when you're dealing with attitudes and when you're dealing with willingness, but it's no different in terms of if Claire had been negative from day one, she wouldn't be with you, would she? Because you'd have managed her out within the first 3 months. In fairness, you'd have just part ways as part of your probationary period. Within there, it'll have attitude towards work. You'll have something in there. If it was negative from day one, you wouldn't be signing her off. So what you'll find is, very rarely does anybody in here have a member of staff who's been with you for a long period of time, who's maintained their work rate, their attitude throughout the whole life of employment with you. You do.
Me.
Brilliant. Who is that? How long have they been? Or you yourself? Yeah, perfect. It's very, I think we had one other hand down here. It's very, very rare. It's very, very rare that happens. The worst thing you can do is expect that to happen. Expect at some point in time, people's work rate will drop off, their performance will drop off. What you'll have is at that point is an understanding of what they've done before. So when we talk about measurables, sometimes measurables are just, I saw that from you, I know you're capable of delivering that, why am I not seeing it now? And with everything that I do, I'll ask more questions than I ever give direction. So if I, will you? If you, would I? I ask a lot of that because what you're really doing is you're asking the question and they're giving you the answers. When you talked about, which we're going to talk about in a bit more detail, when you asked the question about who sets the time frames, what you'll see from me as a leader, manager, whatever you want to call it, is they think that they've set their targets, they actually haven't. I knew what their targets were before we went in the room, we negotiated, but in their mind they left thinking they'd set that target, they've bought in. They set the time frame. They often don't, because I'll know what I wanted the time frame to be. Sometimes they'll say do it quicker and I'll go win. Sometimes they'll say it'll take longer and I'll go, oh, right. Do you think we could get that down any? What's it going to take you that long for? Well, I've got this, this and this. So if I could wait for that, would you be able to get that done quicker? Yeah, brilliant. They still feel that they've been in control of it, and rightly so, because they should be in control of it. So it's just, everything is measurable basically. Past performance, you can measure current performance against. Attitude, you can measure. So yeah, who was up? Who else wanted to do something? Yes, let's go. I'm going to have to get some water. What's the situation?
Okay, so I can't manage performance.
Right.
I've been in businesses and staff for 20 years. I manage it one way, which is out. So over the years, I've lost lots of really good staff because of that. Recently, we lost a member of staff who's got 18 years experience in the industry. A really lovely lady to work with. And everything about her was lovely. Like, you guys have Ben's met her, and she lovely. Everything was about it was lovely. She loved the job, she loved the client, she loved the business, she loved everything. But she either loved something or it was vile. So I had a period where I had more complaints in a 6-week period than I've ever had in all my business. So when I started talking and saying, look, you know, Katie, you know, this has happened, and let's look through the processes, and you didn't follow procedure, and why didn't you do that? And it was always like, well, I'm doing my very best. I'm doing everything I possibly can. I'm doing my very best. And any time you would sort of try and bring an issue to her attention, she would think you're vile. So it was either everything is lovely or it's vile. So we had a really serious complaint from a client who basically said, I got in touch with you, I asked you to do X, Y, and Z. You didn't. In fact, you just ignored it completely. Then I rang you again and you ignored it completely. Then I rang you again, asked you to respond to me. You rang my husband because you want to talk to me. And so Kate was saying, oh, she's just vile. I'm not dealing with that woman. She's just vile. I can't have this conversation. So when I start talking to her about what she's not following in terms of procedure and what her goals and targets were and what went wrong and what we could do differently, she pays lip service. Mm-hmm. And I looked at what her motivators were. She wasn't motivated by money. I thought she's not motivated by development, so I put her through the ARLA course, and she doesn't do any studying. She's got 17 years experience. She's got no qualifications in the industry. I sent her some training courses, paid for that. She came back, oh, this is amazing. This is the most wonderful thing since sliced bread. Never implemented any of it. And I'm at a loss to do something like that. I just think, well, you know, bash them on the head. I don't know what else to do. So we ended up having a conversation where I said, look, we've had all these issues. You don't need to work because of money. You don't seem to want to do any training and development. You seem to love working for us, but I don't know why, because I spent the last 6 weeks banging you on the head because you're doing things wrong and getting complaints. And I literally said to her, I think you should think over the weekend about whether or not you want to keep doing this, because on Monday I've got to put you through a disciplinary because you put someone's life at risk. And so she came back on Monday and said, you're right, I don't think I'm going to work for you anymore. I'm going to become a full-time mum. Which, you know, in one respect, I dealt with a problem, but it's not. I lost all this experience and knowledge, and so I don't know how I could have managed that performance, because I just didn't understand what she had to say. I don't understand why you don't follow procedure. I don't understand why you don't bring someone back if they ask you. I don't understand why you're not motivated to learn or not. I couldn't work out her motivation.
Mm-hmm. First and foremost,
Yeah.
super well done for acknowledging that you're not currently managing performance. Not many of us can say that, even if we know it's true. That's fantastic. With this member of staff, I don't know that the outcome would have been any different for me. That's the
Yeah.
first thing.
Yeah.
From what you're telling me, it doesn't sound like there's a great deal of skill set that you could have improved. I definitely would have used a lot of questioning techniques. So when you're saying I don't understand, that's exactly the conversation I would have had with her.
Yeah.
So got a ton of skill set here, got a ton of experience. You come into work and seem to like the environment. Can you tell me why you can't follow procedure? Did you have that conversation with her?
I definitely went through and said, okay, so let's look at what you did. And so you've ticked to say you've done something, but you haven't done that. Why is that?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's an awkward pause, and she said, I just don't know. Like, how dare you ask me? And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what to say.
So, why haven't you done that? I just don't know. Okay, well, I need to understand why you haven't done that. Is it a capacity issue in terms of you haven't got enough capacity to do that?
We talked about that because I thought about taking some portfolio off her. And she just said, well, I'm doing the very best I can. What more do you expect? and I don't know what to say.
Perfection.
Expect to do the job.
Well, the very best you can right now is not to the standard I need it to be.
Yeah.
So what I want to do is work with you and understand how we can make it better. So it's either a capacity issue, which I can look at. Now, if you've got a portfolio manager or something like that, that's why I talked about it being measurable, being able to say, is it a capacity issue? Because this person's doing exactly the same. This is where some of these scenarios are difficult without understanding the setup, the structure. Then you could have done that and looked at, well, I can go with the capacity issue, but actually somebody else is doing exactly the same as you and doesn't seem to have a problem and actually has a little bit of spare time within their day. So is it more an issue around you being able to manage your time effectively? Or is it an issue around your focus as being in the wrong place? Or do you think it's okay to pick and choose when you do something? So I like doing that bit and I like speaking to the husband, so I'm going to do that. Could that be it?
Yeah, I think that's...
So if that is the case, why do you think that that's okay? I have a business, I have a set of procedures, I have a set of expectations. You're not meeting them. As your manager, I'm struggling a little bit. So what would you do in my shoes to manage you better? Because I need better performance from you. So I'm going to ask you, how can I manage you better and get a change from you?
I think she cried when I asked her. I don't understand. What do I do now?
Okay.
Yeah.
So the answer is either at that point, you can't really do anything, I think I'm going to have to leave, I'm just, my head's not in it no more, or it is tears and going, I do need some help, I do need this, and then it's a really lovely conversation around, okay then, we're going to take 5 minutes break, because you're upset, I want to see you're upset, I want to support you, I want you in the business, I want your skill set, your experience, but more than anything, I want you to work with us, and you're not currently doing that. So I'm going to take 5 minutes, we're going to come back in, and we're going to sit and look at the ways in which we can work together. Or I'm guessing, if she didn't need to work, she didn't feel comfortable with that, and she couldn't tell you how you could manage her better, then she probably would have made the decision to part ways with you. That is something unfortunately is beyond your control. You can either continue to bang your head against a brick wall for the next 6 months, or you can decide, I've given her everything she needs to. When you're saying you're not managing performance, I can't actually see any gaps in how you didn't manage that performance better. If you asked very similar questions to what I asked, if you didn't ask the question of, and sometimes it's frightening to ask somebody, how will I get more from you? If you were in my situation, what would you do? You'll find that you get a real honesty from that, or you'll find that you get a head down and going, yeah, I see what you're saying. When sometimes you're met with, I'm doing my best, or I don't know what else you want us to do, I sometimes say, well, I need you to perform better. I've given you the skill set, you've confirmed you don't need any more training development, you don't need time management, you're not at capacity, you don't need support in terms of an extra body. We've had that conversation, I'm still not getting the performance. what would you do if you were me? Now, often in those instances, they'll put their heads down and go, I just need to be better, don't I? Yeah, so what are you going to do to be better? Or they'll go, probably not in the right job, Adele, I've got lots of things going on at the minute and I'm just not, my head's not in it. Well, thank you for being honest, and I'd much prefer to part ways with you amicably and wish you well. I don't want to drag this through capability, and that's the direction that you're going in. So don't ever underestimate the power of being able to put the ball back in their court, because it's actually really effective sometimes when you're scratching your head. Yes?
What if you said to them, how can I get you to be better? And they said, if you pay me more money, I'll work better.
Right, okay.
No, because I expect that I might get that response from one of my members
Yeah,
of staff.
okay then. So, why am I going to pay you more money when you're not performing?
Because so-and-so down the
the
road
cart
can
and
pay
the
me more
horse,
money.
You don't work for so-and-so down the road though,
But
you
I
work
could
for
do.
me. Right, okay, is that what you want to do?
Well, I could go and work for him for more money and take 50 of your landlords.
Just outside. No, seriously, I've never come across somebody being that brazen with us, if
Yeah.
I'm being
You just
completely
get rid of them
honest.
straight away if they're going to threaten.
Yeah.
And at that point...
I don't actually think that's how he would have responded,
Yeah.
but...
Thanks for that. Yeah, but it is a difficult one, but what you'll tend to find is as well, I don't have very many, and this is the gospel truth, and John will vouch for it and the girls will vouch for it, I don't have very many difficult conversations like that. Now, it's not because I'm an absolute ninja within a one-to-one. What it is the work that I've put in before then. When we talk about building relationships with vendors and landlords and tenants, it's exactly the same thing you're doing with your staff member. And if you've done all of these things and you've nurtured when you've needed to nurture, you've given direction when you need, constructive criticism when you need, if you've done all those things, I wouldn't expect to be met with that. And if I was, my head would tilt and I'd go, really?
Yeah.
And at that point, I expect them to shrivel up and die because I did not deserve that. Sorry, yeah.
I don't know the
Thank
lady's
you.
name.
Jane. By the way, Jane.
Jane, I like the technique you used with Holly. I'm just unclear of where you asked, when did you notice the change, Jane? You said she had 17 years in the industry, but how long had she
So
been
she's
with
been
you?
with me for 2 years, and I think it was because about a year ago we started doing this journey of changing our business and changing the focus of what we do. And then I started really focusing on performance and really focusing on what she was doing and what we were all doing and how we were growing the business and delivering to KPIs and
Measuring
things like
and,
that.
yeah.
And she'd never had any measurement. And she'd never been given goals and KPIs or any financial goals and KPIs. She was always paid a flat salary, and as long as she got told you're doing a lovely job, she was happy. And I personally find it quite difficult to say to someone, oh, you're doing such a lovely job, and I've got
If
7
they're not.
complaints on my desk.
Yeah, you shouldn't do that.
Yeah, and so she would sort of say, well, I'm doing very well over here. I'm like, yeah, but over here, massive complaint, it puts someone's life at risk. And she would find that really difficult to deal with.
Did you identify why you suddenly had 6 weeks worth of problems when you had 2 years where you didn't? Was that down to you not knowing that there were problems?
Yeah,
there?
it was down to me because she'd been a lot of the stuff under the surface since she's left. I found that she was just, I had a compliance going, oh, thank God she's gone. She was so ineffective. But do you know I've been doing a flipping job for the last 3 months. It was capacity. I don't know how she did her job. She had too much to do, but also a lot of what she was doing, she wasn't using her systems properly, so she was making things super complicated. And if I was doing, and I thought in our business we're quite open, we review stuff a lot. I said, but listen, if you follow the process, and after a while of knowing the process, you go, God, this is really long-winded, Joe, we could do it quicker, then come and talk to me. And she wasn't doing that at all, because she just does, I think she's an order taker, so she just, if you say do this way, she just doesn't think.
But unfortunately, your order taker in this instance hasn't actually done what you've asked her to do.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I think you'd have ended up at some point potentially parting ways. I think you're right. Identify if there has been a change in behaviour, like we talked with Holly about, is to identify when that change in behaviour was. Ask the questions, as I was saying. If she doesn't like the new structure of the company, ask why. Because actually the new structure of the company is here to help you. It's here to measure whether or not you are at capacity. Before, when we had no areas of focus and no structure, I couldn't have said when you're at capacity. It's just it's a finger in the air. So actually all of these things we're bringing into place is here to support you. Do you not want to feel supported? Do you not want to kind of get the support that you need from me? Because if if that's not the case, then we do have a problem, because that's what I am planning to do. So I think the horse is bolted now. I think that it's probably the right decision. But I guess the things I would, in future, if that was to happen again, is be able to measure. Because if you did have procedures and things in place, you'd probably know she was at capacity. It's tough for you to do our job to know she's at capacity. Yeah. You should have ideally things in place. Normally, we don't ever have to have a system in place to say we're at capacity, because people are usually the trigger for that, aren't they? Yeah. Very rarely will people run about like headless chickens and not tell you that they're struggling. Or, if they do that, the fact that they're running about like a headless chicken says, come on in here, what's going on? I'm at capacity, I'm struggling. Right, okay. So it's confusing as to why she's allowed herself to kind of do all of those things and hasn't voiced it. The first thing really, by rights, you'd expect an employee to kick back at you at the point they're not performing is, I've got too much to do, you're asking too much of us. That's easy, because at that point you can really start to drill down. Is it that they're not managing their time effectively? Is it that their focus isn't the right area? Is it that actually they do need some support, they do need some portfolio taken away from them? So I guess have your measurables in place to ensure that that doesn't happen again. Sometimes your measurables is just looking at somebody and going, they're here late, they're here early, or when they're here they're running about like a headless chicken, or going, you know, if somebody's going, there's another phone call, I'll sometimes go, what's going on? Like, I've just, right, okay, come off the phones for an hour and let's get you sorted, but chill out a little bit, yeah? So I guess it's being able to measure, looking for the triggers, having the conversations earlier, and having probably a bit more of an in-depth conversation. And I guess the only point I could give you, if you've had the types of conversations that we have, is putting the ball in her court and saying, you know, how do we move forward? There's nothing wrong with asking an employee, how do we move forward from here? Nothing wrong, it's actually really effective. Because sometimes they'll know, right, how do we move forward from here? I think I've got two options. I'm either going to have to shape up or ship out. Very rarely will they say, I'm shipping out. And if they do, probably right thing to do, they'll generally go, right, okay, I just need to get better. Okay, how do you do that? Well, I guess I could do a bit more of this, and I guess I could ask the apprentice to help us out a little bit more with admin. Yeah.
So when they say they're going to get better, and then you have the same conversation again, how long are you going to keep having that conversation?
You shouldn't have the same conversation again, and if you do, it should be easy, because
they haven't got better.
when you ask, when they say I'm going to get better, I would never leave it at that. It's too airy-fairy for me. What does being better look like? I would say to them, so what does being better look like? What activities can I expect from you that I'm not currently seeing? Well, I guess I could give more focus to this, and am I able to use the apprentice to do a little bit of me filing to get that up to date? Yeah, okay, we're going to agree that. I'm going to write that down. Could you give me some time management training? Yeah, I'm going to do that, and I'd write that down. So at the end, I'd summarise and go, right, okay, so we're going to be better, and being better looks like you're going to get some time management from me, and you're going to get that within the next 2 days. Very, very important that you give time scales for everything. There's your measurables, yeah? Don't ever just do, this is what's going to happen. I think, Tony, you fell a crop at that before, haven't you, when I've said, it's brilliant, you're asking for the action, but how long have they got for their action?
Yeah, it was about the calls, because I said we'll check the calls to make sure that we're discussing the right amount of calls that I was expected from a member of staff. And I left it at that. And then
I interjected because I had to, and I said, how long are you going to give up for that then, Tony? And I think you said a month at that point in time, and I went, is a month a bit long? Or and she went, yeah, I'll do a week. But again, it's just learning, you know, if there's an action, put a time frame, because that's your measurable. So what you should be looking for is next time is the things that they've agreed to do differently within the time scales they've agreed to do them in, they should have been done, and usually that'll improve performance. Yeah? Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
We have time for one more. Okay, one more? Yes.
Two more, because Zoe had a hand up as well. Do you still want to go, Zoe, after this?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's good.
Of course we can. Hi.
hi.
The situation is?
So I've got several underperforming members of staff, but one particular one, he seems to be spending too much time on the phone. Every time I walk into the accounts office, he's on the phone talking to his wife, and he doesn't
come off the phone. He doesn't even try to hide it. And I say, Zane, just 1 second. Sorry, 1 second. He goes out for a lot of fag breaks. He does his job, but not as well as I would expect him. He makes too many mistakes. I'm having to audit his work regularly, and then I find myself doing things that are actually part of his job role. He has a nice whiteboard already with his days planned out and his time, and I have 2 members of staff in the accounts room, and I actually think that I don't need both of them. And I could put the other person to do something else if he could just pull his socks up and be more efficient. And I spent 2 days with him last month looking at ways to use our software system to speed up his work. And that has helped, but he hasn't done the extra work that I would have expected him to do in the spare time. And then he made a really big mistake the other day, and he fixed it, and he came to me at the end of the day and said, this happened, I'm really sorry. But if he just checked the ledger, he wouldn't have overpaid someone. And I was like, and then he told me the solutions that he gave them, and I was like, why did you give him that option? Thankfully, the landlord chose the right and only option of sending the money back, rather than wait until the next month to repay our client account. I was just like, why would you think that's okay? You've got a fucking accounts degree, right? I don't have an accounts degree.
But I know that's not right.
Yeah, and I know your job better than you do. Okay, I know that being the business owner, I need to know everyone's job better than they do. But it's really soul destroying when you think, God, I've got someone who's got a degree, but no common sense. What's wrong with people?
Okay, so
Sounds fine.
breathe.
Keep up.
It's like a counselling session, isn't it? And breathe. Right, okay, so some of these things are really, really, really easy.
Yeah.
Because you could use your John school of thought and he just banned personal calls, and he has done that. He's banned mobiles within office hours, and he's banned personal calls other than structured break times.
Yeah.
So that's your first thing. Now, in order to get that change, you've obviously given him investment up until this point because you've spent 2 days with him learning.
Yeah,
the system.
minimum. I spend a lot of time with, probably more time with him
Yeah.
than anybody else.
Yeah.
And he still comes to me like I have to spoon feed him everything. I must have sent 7 emails yesterday between me and him, making sure he did a landlord's account right.
Yeah.
Because the landlord made a request to me in the morning, and I was like, Zane, don't do this. He's like, but what about this? But what about this? I'm like, I just gave you one instruction. How difficult is it for you to follow it?
Yes. So, you do sound like the type of manager that people love, but also takes the absolute piss out of because you do spoon feed.
Yeah, and I've got all their monkeys on my back.
Yeah. Well, you need to stop spoon feeding is the first thing. What you need to be doing is, with people who lack initiative, my best thing that I say to them is, I need you to see more initiative from you, okay? So, in future, whenever you come to me with something, be prepared. I'm going to ask you the question, what do you think you should do? And when you do something, I'm going to say, why did you do that? And when it's not right, I'm going to say, what was the result of what you did? Right? What do you need to do next time? What, all the time, lots of what's, okay? Now, the question that I would ask, is it Zane?
Yeah.
Is, okay, Zane, we've spent quite a bit of time together now, we've gone through this. You're definitely not at capacity. I know that there's room within your job role, and I want to start utilising that. But there seems to be not the level of priority or focus given to certain areas. What type of things do you think you do currently that you could stop doing that would create more time, that would allow you to be more efficient?
I don't know, I think I'm very efficient. I do everything that you ask me.
Do you think, because it's not just about what I ask you to do, it's also about what you're going to start doing off your own initiative, do you think that you make excessive personal calls during work hours?
That's just normal, isn't it? You know, I've got to talk to my wife. She lives overseas. I can only talk to her during a certain time zone.
Right, okay, so that's causing us a problem currently. So what...
But it's not stopping me doing my job, you know, because I'm typing away, you know, talking to her, typing.
Okay, you're talking to her and typing. Is your focus entirely on, and you understand everything she's saying, or is your focus entirely on what you're doing? Would it be more effective if you weren't on the phone, is the question I'm asking? Why should I accept you being less effective?
Because you don't pay me very much.
Right. Do you think that if you were more effective, I'm more inclined to pay you a bit more?
Probably.
No, I'll tell you, definitely. If you were more productive and we were sitting having a conversation whereby you were going, I've done my job, I've also done this, I'm also looking for opportunities, I'd like a pay rise, do you think that would be an easy conversation for us to have? And do you think I'm inclined to give you a pay rise at that point?
But you're always telling me there's no more money for a pay rise.
Why is there no more money?
Because everyone's not working hard enough.
Okay, so if we were working harder, what would be the upshot of that?
Well, hopefully we'd have more money.
Right, okay, brilliant. We would have more money and I would be more inclined to consider you for a pay rise. So what can we do differently off the back of this conversation?
Well, you know, when my wife comes back from Pakistan, she'll be here all the time and I'll be able to speak to her when I get home. So I do really need to speak to her every day for 5 hours.
Right, well, you're going to need to consider what's a priority for you, because I can't accept that. And for all I can work with you and be as flexible as I possibly can, the situation with your wife working overseas is not my business's problem. I have a business to run, I'd like you to be part of that, but I need to see some changes. What can I expect to see change?
Well, I suppose I could cut it down to 2.5 hours.
Oh, piss off, no, I'm joking.
No, he probably would say, yeah, okay, I'll just speak to her before I come to work then.
Fantastic, I really appreciate that, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the changes in your performance because of that. Well done. Sometimes I sit and think it can't be that difficult. Nobody would say that, nobody would do that, but then you tell me they do that.
No, he's on his personal phone. Yeah.
Lunchtime.
Do you want to go? Yeah, let's do it.
Before it comes up, can I just ask, how much easier is it seeing it in action?
Can we bust her in?
Apparently 3 people don't want to go on my mastermind.
I don't have one because I'm too busy dealing with difficult stuff, sorry.
Can everyone see how easy it is? And it's just, you don't know what you don't know, just a couple of buzzwords, buzz sentences, and that silence thing, that's an absolute gem of a bit of advice.
And do you know what? We're frightened of one-to-ones, if we're completely honest, because we're frightened of the unknown and we don't know what they're going to say. The thing I would say is, it's fine. Do you know what? Even if one of the first things I learned, what's the worst that can happen if you say something and actually you wished you hadn't said it? What's the worst that can happen?
Employment tribunal.
Not if it's on a one-to-one basis, you can't. No, but yeah, all seriously, it's all right. If I've done it before, I've sat in a one-to-one and went, that didn't go the way I wanted it to because I didn't get what I wanted out of them, and I wished I'd said this and I wished I'd said this. I've got to wait another month now before I say it. Why do I need to wait another month? Who said I've got to wait another month? Is that a conversation I've got to have? Yeah. I've done it where I've went, can I have a quick word with you? And come in and go, I didn't rest very well after yesterday's one-to-one. They're like, I did, it was mint. Exactly what I wanted out of it. Well, I didn't. And do you know why I didn't? Because actually, I've given you a bit of an easy route out there, and I can't accept that because it's a two-way relationship, you and I, and I'm giving you far more than I'm receiving from you, and it stops today. And I've definitely spoon-fed you, and that stops today because you were holding me back from running this business the way that I want to do, and that won't happen anymore. So we'll continue to have these one-to-ones, but actually I'm going to go back on some of the things I said yesterday. This is what I want, this is what I want, and this is what I want, and I want them by these time frames. And I'll tell you what, it's very, very, very effective, because what it allows you to do is that member of staff will walk away going, I'm buzzing about my next one-to-one because I like tied her up in knots, and she'll tell somebody else and they'll go, did you? I'm going to do that. And that rot sets in very quickly. So when I say getting comfortable with uncomfortable, honestly, that is, if anything, often people say to me, where did you get the change from? Where did it come from? That one thing. Getting comfortable with uncomfortable. John brought in my brother to do some training with us many, many, many moons ago when I was a relatively new branch manager. And my brother would often say, you've got leadership skills that come naturally. You've never had any leadership training, but you really have. And I go, I don't understand. You know what to do and how to do it without understanding the theory behind it. And I know you haven't had any training because I'm your brother and I've kind of followed your career a little bit. And I know you haven't had any real training, so it's really, really good. But one of the things I really struggled with was having direct conversations, being comfortable with uncomfortable. And I hated being trained by my brother. I hated it. And when John brought him in, I was like, oh, brilliant. But what it did was absolutely challenge us, because I thought we were very competitive anyway. He was older than us, always been better on us than everything. So I thought, nah, he's not having this one. And I got better very, very quickly, because I didn't like being coached by him, and it made us feel uncomfortable. So I got better. I got comfortable with uncomfortable very quickly, because as soon as I knew I could do that, the sooner I could get rid of the discomfort. But I've used that in every situation thereafter. If I feel uncomfortable about something, I've got to do something. That gut instinct, that knot that you leave with because you haven't had a conversation with somebody that you should have had, but you convinced yourself through the working day that there was other things to do, and you've gone home and been restless about it again. Why? Why give yourself another restless night? Tackle it head on, and be calm and relax. There's nothing that can go terribly wrong. It's all right to be wrong and reflect on it. It's all right to sit with a member of staff and say, I should have done more. You haven't had what you needed from us, and you're going to get it. I'm going to extend your probationary review, and I'm going to invest in you, but I need to see this from you. You'll get a ton of respect from that. You really, really will. So don't worry about it, is basically what I'm saying. Sorry.
Right,
yes.
no, it's all right. This one's just started brewing, so it's something that's sort of very current.
Okay.
Obviously, I've had real trouble with staff for the last 18 months, revolving door scenario.
Right.
Tried to get an office manager, got one, great, but didn't have any other staff. I've now got 2 new members of staff, and what seems to have happened in the last couple of weeks is the office manager is constantly saying to me, I'm up against it, I ain't got time. The 2 new members of staff, before they started, we agreed where my strengths were in terms of training them and where his strengths were in training them, and we split the training, if you like.
Mm-hmm.
Both of the new members of staff now have come to me separately and said it in different ways, but have said when they've gone to him for training that he's designated to deliver, he's a little bit abrupt, and he's like huffing and puffing, and he's probably like, I ain't got time to do this. So they've said that. Then 4 o'clock this morning, an email lands in my inbox from him that he sent to a client overnight. Now, my difficulty, there's several things going on here in my head, is I want to applaud him for his dedication, but then why is he emailing a client at 4 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah.
So now, where do I go from here with him about the training of the staff, his time management? Because I've already had a conversation with him briefly when he started saying this, do we need to have a sit down and do we need to go through how are you managing your emails, how you manage your diary, is there anything I can do to help you?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's fine, I'll sort it.
Mm-hmm.
But clearly he's not sorting it, because why is he emailing
Okay.
in the middle of the night, you know? So
Right.
it's, what do I say to him now? How do I approach it without kicking his legs from under him? Because, you know, if it is dedication rather than time management, you know.
So what we need to think about is go right back to the basics and right back to the beginning. Did he have a role profile?
Yes,
Did it say in part of his management duties that he would have, part of his skill set would be good time management?
yes,
Right, okay. Did you ask those questions in interview?
Yes.
Did he give you clear examples?
yes,
Fantastic, there's your expectations. Did you have within his role profile that one of his responsibilities would be training and development staff?
yes,
Did he give you clear examples of how he could do that?
yes.
Have you seen him do it effectively within day to day?
If you say seen him do it, I haven't, because the difficulty you've got is I'm leaving to get on with it. I'm then getting on with my stuff because I'm trying
So,
to
have you had
retreat.
feedback from anyone who said, oh, that was a really good training session?
No,
Right, okay. Did you, is effective communication part of his role profile?
yeah, I mean, he's a really good communicator with like external clients and things like that.
Right, perfect, there's
But
you.
the staff are now, the new staff that I want to keep, because they seem like they're both going to be good,
Right.
are both saying to me, "Ooh, he's, you know, he gets a little bit aggressive."
Well, there's your
and, you know.
expectation, because what is the difference between a customer and a member of staff?
Yeah,
What is it?
there isn't.
There isn't. So why have we got different levels of communication? It's obviously his mental state is that actually that is different. That's a customer to us. They're worth something to us. They're a member of staff. What you need to get him to understand is his staff's worth. So by demotivating them, by being abrupt with them and not really being investing in
Yeah.
their training, this is what's going to happen. So I guess, has he had one-on-ones yet?
Yeah,
Is he still within his probationary
Yes.
period? How far into his probationary period?
He's very about. He's on the well. We do a 6-month probationary. He's on the cusp of 6 months.
Right. Okay then.
And he's been fine because obviously we were on our own for a few months until we got the staff. And it's since the staff have come in. But I think everything's stemming from his time management. I think the reason he's getting abrupt with his staff is because he's thinking he's got all these other things to do. But the difficulty I have with it is because I started in my spare room 16 years ago and I did everything. I know exactly how long everything takes. And when he's saying I'm up against it, I'm thinking, well, why are you up against it? Because I know that you haven't really got that much to do. And but it's how you address that without making them or demeaning them and saying, well, you're never going to be as good as me, you know,
Right,
that sort of
okay.
thing.
All right then. So what's his name?
Andrew.
Andrew. Okay then. So we're having a one-to-one with Andrew, and we're talking about his performance. Are we praising some good performance?
Yeah.
Right. So we're praising some good performance, and we're acknowledging that genuinely. And then what we're also going to talk to him about is his dedication. And we're praising his dedication. I was blown away with the fact that he sent an email to somebody at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
But I'm equally blown away as to why you need to do that.
Yeah.
So why do you need to do that then, Andrew? That's the first. You be Andrew.
Because I didn't have time during the day on Friday to do it because I was so busy.
Right, okay then. Talk me through the type of activities that you were doing on Friday that took up your day.
I won't know the whole answer because obviously
No, I
I was
know.
here, but I know that I had to take Louise out on 10 property visits, so obviously I had to show her how to do them. Now the difficulty I have with that is Louise, she's been with us 2 weeks, but she's insured on the car and she's done 40 property visits already. So why did he need to go with her?
Right. I had this exact situation with one of our branch managers in Hartlepool, whereby she was always too busy to do everything, and anything I asked of her, don't get me wrong, I do believe she was busy. She always answered the phone after hours. I always sent emails after hours. I don't expect a response, but she always did respond. Dedication was there, but she was always too busy. Now, what I got her to do was as simple as this, because I heard it over and over again. I thought, I can't keep hearing the same thing. So what I did was a different tact. I asked her to keep a diary.
Time managed,
I asked her to
I've
keep
done
a
that before,
diary.
Yeah.
Like when you go to Weight Watchers and you've got to keep a diary of what you've ate for the week. I asked her to keep a diary. And then we looked at that diary and I said, right, okay, what I need you to do is, it's shocker, I agree, you've had a busy, busy week, all right? Here's your role profile and these are the things you must do. So what we're going to look at is anything you've done outside of these things. Well, I needed to do some viewings because we had more viewings than we were able to deal with. All right, okay, let's have a look at the viewing diary. It doesn't look particularly busy, and actually I can see that your company viewer went to the same properties 3 times in the same week. Why did we do that? What I understood is she liked doing what she liked doing, and one of the things was out of the office appointments. So what I did was I just sat with that and said, right, can we get rid of that then? Well, it's ideally I'd like to, right, okay, I need these things from you, so what can we get rid of here that'll allow you to do these things? Right, okay, well, I'll not have to do that and I'll not have to do that. Fantastic. So we've got an hour a day there because it was things like one-to-ones. I don't have time to do one-to-one. One-to-ones is part of your
he should be
profile.
doing them with the new staff and inducting the new staff.
Yeah.
But I'm partly my fault being a control freak probably, is I've not allowed him, but I think if I'd given him that as well, he'd have an absolute meltdown and blow up because he can't cope with what he's doing now.
So what you need to go back to is your basics of your role profile, which is, these are the things I need from you. So what can we move out of here to get you to do these things? And I literally went through our diary and I freed up about 3 days of our week through doing things that she didn't need to do, so she could manage her time, but what she wasn't doing is applying herself to the right areas of the business.
If we do that and it transpires that he's taking 4 times as long as is expected, how would you handle that?
When you say 4 times as long as, what type of things might you do that would take too long?
Well, the email, for example, he sent to the client was like War and Peace. I'd have bashed something out, 3 lines of a reply, and it wouldn't have needed all this. So it's taken him that was out of hours, but if he's doing that during the working day, it's taken him 30 minutes to type an email that probably could have taken 5. I suppose that's what I'm meaning, because I don't like anyone cutting corners. Oh no. But if he's just plodding and just,
And I guess what you've got to decide is, you are the driver of that business.
Yeah.
So what is acceptable for you? if that is War and Peace and it was too much, you can commend the fact that's a fantastic email in terms of it is War and Peace. However, that has prevented you from doing something else that I need you to do. So how do we cut down the time on this? Well, I guess I probably didn't need to go into as much detail, right? If you didn't, how long would that have taken you? Well, I probably spent an hour and I probably could have had it lashed out within 15 minutes. What would that have allowed you to do? Because, and you can definitely impart this in a positive way, in that what I want to do is I don't want you working at 4 o'clock in the morning because you'll burn yourself out. And I've had staff that's done that, and they've done 3 months later they've sat and went, I said this was going to happen, and I said you didn't need to be doing that. What I said is focus on these areas and you wouldn't need to do that. So can we now do that? Now
I mean, there's enough hours in the day, you don't need to be doing that, and that's what I struggle with, I suppose.
Exactly, but what you do need to get a handle on is if he's your manager and you've already got staff talking to you about his abruptness, is you do need some clarity on that. So training and development was something that you were going to be doing. Yes, correct?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay then, how do you think you're performing with your training and development?
All right.
Okay, bit of feedback from you because we're very early on in your employment journey, and part of my job is to make you better, and I will do that because I'm invested in you. So what I will tell you is a little bit of feedback that I've had is you can sometimes be abrupt. Is there any reason for that?
If you do that, if you say that, does that not create more of a problem? Because you said I've had feedback that says you're abrupt. Is that not creating an issue?
Why would that create an issue?
Because, you know, obviously we've got a small team and there's only 2 of them and both of them have said it. Is he then going to be a bit, what's it with them because they've said it?
It depends, and it depends how you, possibly, but it depends how you pitch it. So the way that I would pitch it is, at the end of the day, the staff will always judge us. They'll judge me, they'll judge you. So we've got to give them the best version of ourselves, and we've got to adapt the way that we communicate with people. So actually, your staff are helping making you better. If you listen to your staff, in some instances they'll make you better. I actually believe that this is a good bit of feedback for you, because you're doing your training, which is fantastic, well done. You could adapt the way that you're communicating with them to get much more out of them, because again, I'm invested in you. I want them to come to you and I don't want them to come to me, so I'm going to make you better so that they do that moving forward. So this is something I've seen you communicate excellently with our external customers. Is there any reason you would communicate differently with your staff?
Yeah, it's their staff.
Right, okay. What makes them different?
The silence just came, didn't it? I think the difficulty is he's come from another environment where he ran a contracting cleaning company, so all the people he was working with, it was probably acceptable to be abrupt, and so he needs to change his mindset.
And what is wrong with having that conversation with him?
No.
What is wrong with acknowledging? What I do believe that the difference might be is you've come from this environment. I totally appreciate it's a difficult leap to make. So the first thing is we're aware of it. The second thing is what is the impact of it. The third thing is how do we change it? So there's nothing wrong. Sometimes what we do is, it's nice doing role play with somebody. I did role play when I was doing it, and I go, well, I want to say, and I'd feel it was too direct. And Kevin would look at me and go, so what, you're not saying it for? And I go, I can't say that. Why? Don't know. So you can say it, can't you? And I worked myself up and didn't sleep all the night before, and then said it, and I tell you now, the uncomfortableness was as awful as I expected it to be. The little jig I did inside at doing it, and the way I went home with the spring in my step was absolutely immense. And I'm telling you now, start doing it. The rewards that you feel off the back of it will be so much so it'll encourage you to do it again and again and again till you actually, I bet if I was to do the communication styles questionnaire again, I bet I wouldn't be what I was before. I bet that I'd have changed. I might still have a dominant style, but I bet my secondary style is started to really pitch in, because I've trained myself to understand that you need to handle that, and you need to handle that quickly, because what I now know is that'll how I'll feel after doing it. A bit like today, a bit like yesterday. I knew that I'd dread it and I knew I'd be worried about it, but I know the feeling I'll get afterwards of knowing I've done it, it'll be far outweighed that uncomfortableness. So you'll build in so much confidence by doing these things. So what I would say to you is just have the direct conversation. The things you want to say are usually right, you know. So have the conversation with them and talk to them about his different communication styles, talk to them about why you think that might be, talk to them about the fact that you need to see a change in that, talk to them about you not wanting him to burn himself out, and whilst you appreciate that, you believe by making some adjustments you can buy some time back, and that's what you want, because at the moment you won't get longevity. You'll get a star in at 4 o'clock in the morning, wherever. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
You won't get longevity, and I want you to be here for the long
It's a
haul.
marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly. Exactly.
Thank you very much.
No, you're welcome.
The champagne is going to go to one of them as Employee of the Month as
Oh,
well.
well done, you.
Useful?
Yeah.
Very good, very good. I think it was excellent to see the different problems and the solutions that Adele came with. That uncomfortableness and that silence is key. You'll churn inside, but once you do it, it'll be one of the best resources and the best tools you can pull out. Right, guys, we've got a 15-minute break, tea, coffees, loo break, and then we'll come back here for the next session. Thank you.